Secrets from a Coach. Thrive and maximise your potential in the evolving workplace. Your weekly podcast with Debbie Green of Wishfish and Laura Thompson-Staveley of Phenomenal Training. Debs.
Laura, welcome back. How are you?
I'm feeling refreshed, ready to hit the ground running, getting into that performance mindset, Debs. How about you?
Yeah, absolutely. Getting raring to go towards that and thinking about how do I get the best out of me? And then how do others get the best out of others as well? So looking forward to this series we're doing, actually, Laura. It's a real hot topic, isn't it?
Huge hot topic. So welcome to our first in our 5-part focus looking at maximising performance. So we'll have a bit of a chat about why it's important and what that means. But what we're really looking forward to on this series is taking some different and quite refreshing approaches to this massive topic, which is managing performance, whether that's in yourself, which is a real focus for today, whether that's managing others' performance, whether you want to shift the culture and the attitude towards having performance being managed. So rather than it being a dirty word, performance management, it's actually an inspiring conversation, for example, helping performance to flourish. Sounds so simple on paper, Debs, but what actually are some of the realities out there in all of those conversations we have out there, as well as whispered behind the scenes, about why this is such a hot topic, particularly in a hybrid new world of work environment that we're in? So what are some of the current hot topics that you're seeing that link to the world of managing performance?
Yeah, and it is really a hot topic, and I think it's about how do we really truly invest in our people, especially if we're team leaders, supervisors, managers. That ability to show that you care enough about somebody else to help them maximize their potential, thrive in their world of work, has never ever, I don't think, been as important as it is now. Because of hybrid working, we don't always get to be sitting next to somebody, so the ability to capture, touch space with, connect with, explore with your team member about how are they doing in relation to their performance, so you're investing in them, is second to none. You've just got to do it. There is no, for me, you probably hear, there is no excuse not to do a one-on-one conversation with your member of your team to check in as to how they're doing. And when you hear, when I'm coaching other people and you hear that their performance review, one-to-one, whatever you want to call it, was cancelled, and it's been the 4th time it's been cancelled because of something else, that person is really dejected and they feel like they just don't matter. So what's the point? So whilst they might have the momentum to continue on their own and have that energy and impetus to perform because they want to be seen to be doing a good job, and they can, the fact that no one's noticing that matters is just criminal. And I think that if you're a manager listening to this and you're one of those that will push back a one-to-one or a performance review or whatever, think twice before you do that, because you'll be turning off your member of your team and you may not get the best of them. And I think that's why this topic is just crucial at the moment, especially as we're going into, the time where performance reviews are starting, performance years starting. I think this is why this is such an important topic, Laura.
Yeah, huge topic. And if recruitment and retention and engagement are hot words for you right now, whether it's on your own performance list or whether it's just something that there's an opportunity to lift it up, then hopefully you'll find there's a practical as well as thought-provoking perspective on it. I always love looking at Gallup for stats, Debs, because Gallup is just the world kind of leader in terms of just the volume and the depth and the validity of the data that they look at. So they basically look at loads of different engagement surveys, and the guy who's the CEO of Gallup, so it's a chap called John Clifton, and his one phrase that I just really stuck out for me that linked to this: what can leaders do today to potentially save the world? We've found one clear answer: change the way your people are managed. And secrets from a coach, I think, if I were to write a book, Debs, at the end of however long we're doing all of our bits and bobs for, the title of that book would be Honour Your One-to-Ones. If there was, just as you're
Definitely.
saying, if there was one commitment in your diary, and I've seen it now in 20 odd years, 25 years working in the world learning and development, people who have managers who book that in, stick to that, as you said, don't repeatedly cancel, tend to be happier because it's that human bonding moment. Am I
Yeah.
important? Is someone listening?
Yeah.
And do I count? And actually, if I'm just last down the list of creditors
Yes.
on that list of time, because time,
Yeah.
of course, is precious, then the message it sends out is huge, isn't it?
Yeah, it is massive. And I think, we were fortunate to have our guest on with us, weren't we, for this episode that is talking about that performance potential for themselves. So should we take a listen to what Sam had to say to us?
Absolutely. And as you listen to this might be refreshing of what that means to get the best out of yourself. It also, I can't wait to listen to him, because I there's a number of different ways that you can then kind of take this. But if you are not fortunate enough to have a motivating performance culture around you, or you're not feeling it at the moment, then I think it's going to give us some great tips about how to get yourself into that maximising your personal potential. So I can't wait to listen to Sam.
So we have a guest with us today, and I'm delighted to be joined by Sam, who's going to give you a little bit of an intro into who he is and what he does. But I'd like to refer to him as leading the revolution in school wellbeing, as an international coach and a speaker and a former teacher. And our topic that Laura and I wanted to discuss for this month was all around the word performance and what does it mean. And Sam is going to share his wisdom around what that means to him. So welcome, Sam.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
Yeah, as you said, I'm a speaker, a teacher. I'm a founder of two companies, one called Student Breakthrough and one called the Educators Coaching Academy. And both really are there to transform mental health support in education.
Yeah. So what was it? I'm always intrigued by this, and I love this because we were doing a bit of a talk. I was doing a talk yesterday, actually. Oh my God, where's the weeks going? And we were talking about mind health and how it links in with performance, and how well-being and well-doing is so important in order for us to be our best. So what was it that got you into doing what you do in the first place?
I think when it comes to a performance angle, I think I was feeling very overwhelmed and not myself. So I wasn't actually performing to the best of my ability. And I think when you're going through setbacks and challenges, which I was facing in my early teaching career, nothing really to do with teaching, just more my own stuff, right? Like, trauma with a small T from childhood, and various, like I said, challenges and setbacks. I had this identity of basically a victim, and it was hard to break out of that. And obviously, if you're feeling like a victim, then you're not feeling like, let's say, a hero or taking ownership. And if we're thinking about performance, then that's really part of, a hero's journey, performing at your best, to help more people. So I think for me, I realized I was out of alignment.
Okay.
And I think our bodies are great signs of that. Maybe we're not performing. For me, I was very, very anxious. I couldn't get into school and teach. The time where I broke down in front of a class. So our bodies obviously show us what's going really on internal.
Yeah.
And when it's about performance, it can be quite a quick fix can be, okay, I'm going to fix the external. Well, actually, we need to look under the hood about what's going on internally to improve our performance.
Yeah, definitely. I think you're right. And I think I loved what you put the other day is, I think you wrote in one of your posts you did on LinkedIn, and we'll make sure people have your connections as well, is that coaching is to education what an engine is to a car. And I went, oh my God, I so love that, because when you wrote that, I just thought that was so important around, as you said, who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakens. And I think when we're thinking about what that means to us as humans and the impact it can have on our performance is huge, right? So what have you noticed when it comes to really thinking about what's important for you? How do we create that space that enables us to perform, in inverted commas, and be our best? And also what might get in the way of that?
Yeah, I think when it comes to performance, someone showed me a while back that performance is potential minus interference.
Oh, okay, nice.
Which I thought was obviously a really interesting point. Let's go into that, right? So
Yeah.
performance is potential minus interference. So
Hmm.
your maximum potential, what you can achieve, which I think there's always so many possibilities. We're only really touching like the surface of what is possible.
Yeah.
But if you think of your unlimited potential, now for me, it could be that I really want to transform education, right? And I'm going to do that by one of my aims was to run loads of events all around the world called the Education Disruptor, right?
Yeah.
Quite a big, lofty aim. But what happened was the interference came in, and the interference for me was really like self-sabotage.
Okay.
Interference could be, well, who are you to do this?
Okay. So doubt in yourself.
So that
Yeah.
doubt comes in. That's what I mean by interference.
Yeah.
Interference can obviously be like, let's say a pandemic, let's say a recession,
Yeah.
that can come in. But really, the interference for me is it's your personal. So you've got this idea of who you want to become,
Hmm.
your highest form of potential, and then who you're currently being, like right now. And obviously, the two need to match up and become
Yeah.
more congruent. But for me, like the interference of self-doubt, and that's why mental health is so important when it comes to performance.
Yeah.
So if you can actually like reduce your interference through coaching, therapy, counseling, whatever it is for you,
Yeah.
then you're going to perform at your optimal level.
Yeah, definitely. And you mentioned around exploring that for yourself. So I suppose without going into loads of details around that, but when we've all you sort of had the opportunity to explore what goes on for us, me included, but what was the one thing you took away with it that enabled you to think about yourself differently so that you could change the world in the way that you wanted to be and what you are doing currently, right? So what was that one thing for you?
I think it goes back to my very first coaching session, which I
Yeah.
stumbled into back in 2015. So, bit of context. I was really struggling to do my job as a teacher. I was like hyper emotional. I was a chronic insomniac, and I was a very broken young man. I was
Hmm.
24 at the time. So my performance wasn't good, right? I wasn't showing up for my kids. I wasn't showing up as the best teacher I can be, whatever,
Sure.
whatever. So my performance wasn't great, but I wasn't living up to the potential because there was so much interference. So I had glimpses of my potential as a teacher.
Okay.
I knew
Yeah.
that I was good at this job, but I interfered by anxiety, whatever you want, whatever challenge I had. So for me, that first coaching session on the 23rd of April, 2015,
Oh, it's embedded. It's that moment.
yeah, I remember like writing on my calendar afterwards, like through like many tears,
Yeah.
was the first time one of my favorite expressions to express and not suppress.
Yeah. Nice.
And it was that it was a transformational, it wasn't a transactional coaching experience. It was transformational in that it shifted my being from feeling like a victim to someone who could actually take ownership.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I distinctly remember I then got a pen, crossed the date off. I had a wall calendar at the time, crossed the 23rd of April off. And then I was walking around a park in Milton Keynes where I was living at the time.
Yeah.
And for the first time in about 2 or 3 years, the park was like vibrant and colorful.
Cool. You could see it.
So it was actually a physical change, but it was more like a change in my being.
Mm.
And the result of reducing that interference, I then went back into school, became a much better teacher, like fell in love with the job, got great grades, but more importantly, built great relationships with the kids.
Yeah. And also with yourself, I suppose. And I suppose having that etched in your brain. I know certainly from my experience of working with people, and you probably feel the same, those milestones, those pivotal moments that transform, as you quite rightly said, our whole lives is huge. So when you're thinking about what you do now and helping people and others, how do you ensure that you help people to be their best?
I think for me, coaching, I know you're a big advocate of it. Obviously, this podcast is, but
Yeah.
for me, it's a lovely gateway, a gateway type of mental health support,
Yeah.
for people because it is really proactive, it's action orientated, it's usually quite positive, and it can be obviously quite transactional and surface level. It obviously can be deeper as well. But I think the biggest thing that I show people to do is just to build relationships.
Yeah.
When I train teachers as coaches on our, on the ICF course we've got, yeah, you can, all the tools, the exercises, the ICF competencies, blah, blah, blah. But really what we're doing is helping people to build really strong connections
Yeah.
and to be better communicators. And
Yeah.
you see all the time, like when I initially started coaching students, I was like, how was that first session? So like a 13-year-old boy, oh, it was just so good to be listened to,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the simple way of improving someone's performance is to put your phone away, remove your agenda, and just be a heart with ears.
Yeah, definitely. And I think certainly people appreciate that being listened to and being heard. And you're right, the impact it has. I think we can never underestimate the impact we have on that when we are just listening. But it's easy for us to do, right? We've been, if you like, trained in inverted commas, which we have, and we've had years of practicing it as well. So we're very good at it. But when it comes to listening to ourselves and what's important, how do you do that for yourself so you know that you're heading towards your right direction? You know you're still heading towards your North Star and wanting to change the world and transform this whole world that you live in. How do you know that?
That is a phenomenal question.
Thank you. We've only got about 10 minutes to answer it in, but yeah.
Yeah, no, how do I know that? Listening to yourself is really important. You know, there's a meme sometimes like if you could take one pill, one could be to like fly, one to be invisible. I think mine would be to listen to yourself and listen to your own
Yeah.
advice. You know, there's that thing. It's like the advice you most often give is often the advice you most need to hear.
Yeah.
But in terms of keeping myself on track when it comes to performance, it's all about vision and
Yeah.
it's all about future pacing, you know, and imagining your future self and where you want to be. I've got a vision board right here next to me.
Yeah.
And they do work and you have to work with it, but it's about asking yourself, you know, what is the life I want to create?
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest word, like to be, if you listen to this, like
Yeah.
that word create over react,
Yes.
because so many people have life happen to them,
Yeah.
you know, like, and they react to life. And this is what I mean when I work with teachers, like they've got so many skills and possibilities, they can create something different. They can create new possibilities for themselves and
Yeah.
for others. So I think for me, it's like, obviously have a vision of where you want to go, map that out and understand it and start to really, maybe not law of attraction it, but you can manifest, you know, I'm not saying you
Yeah.
can sit and say, I want £1 million and you're going to get £1 million. But, you know, for me, I've got like this, I've got, you know, so a picture of Sir Ken Robinson on my, he's
Oh,
a,
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know who he is. Yeah.
got the education disruptor. I've got a picture of a house on the beach because that's where I want to live. And I'm moving
Yeah.
back to the beach very soon. I've got guys finishing rowing the Atlantic.
Cool.
That's something I want to do as well. So that's not to say that's going to necessarily happen in the next 90 days. But I look at that every day, mainly when I brush my teeth.
Yeah.
And it's tricking yourself. But so I think you have a vision of where you want to get to.
Yeah.
Understand like you can create and you've just got to keep taking shots.
Yeah.
And that's really all I've done for the last 5 years since leaving teaching is just take shots, say yes, see what happens.
Yeah.
And also surrender to those opportunities when they come. You know,
Yeah.
ask me to be on the podcast, you know, you say yes to that. That's a great
Yeah.
opportunity.
Yeah.
And create that experience.
And I suppose a lot of people who might be listening to this might be going, yeah, but it's easy for you. And I know as coaches, we all hear that all the time. Well, but it's not as easy for people to do that. So if you think about, you know, the wisdom that you've gained over the years and what you're doing now, and obviously we work a lot with managers and supervisors and team leaders who are helping helping them to grow and look and create their futures, whatever that might be for them, and going with the flow. But if you were to sort of share your wisdom about what could they do that enables people to see their potential, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I think when it comes to actually leading teams, the first step for me is always the listening part. I know we talked about
Yeah.
it, but actually like connecting with people, making them feel understood and
Yeah.
valued. That's step one, because you can't do anything else without that.
No.
Because we're so quick to offer solutions. And I know we do that as well as teachers. It's like, okay, well, here's the solution. Here's what you need to do. But if you haven't got the awareness, then the action is never going to follow.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can, like Debbie can tell me what I should do, but ultimately, if I haven't had that shift in my being and who I'm showing up and being in the workplace, then I'm not going to be able to take that action. So yeah, step one, be a heart with ears. Love that
Yeah.
phrase. Actually
Yeah.
connect and listen. The second step is to actually, I'd say actually lead by example.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, we all experience failure, we all experience setbacks. It's part of the human experience. I think was it Phil Stutz the three certainties of pain,
Yeah.
certainty, and the need for constant work.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to fail. There's going to be setbacks. And even if you're a manager or a leader, it's how you respond to that. A bit like a parent, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how you can respond to that. So a nice simple way to show your team how you're responding to that is obviously, number one, to take ownership for it and say, hey, well, this happened. But also there's a little two questions you can ask yourself, and you can ask your team as well, which is, what can I learn from this? And then how can I use this knowledge?
Yeah. Great questions.
Yeah, and just to have that as like a feedback loop and actually build that into your team meetings, like how can I? So it's listening, it's developing that growth mindset. The Japanese philosophy kitsukari, when you've got a bowl and it smashes, and instead of putting it in the bin, you pick up the pieces and build it back.
Yeah.
So it's actually more beautiful than it was. And that's kind of what we mean by, what can I learn? How can I use this?
Yeah.
Actually be the example. And then the last thing, I think, as we're coaches and we're not therapists, the most important is action taking.
Yeah.
And again, showing the team how to create. What are you creating? How are you showing up? Because that's a challenge I saw with mental health support in schools, or support for teachers and students, is when we see a counselor, and I've had a counselor, I've had a therapist, I've got a therapist. It's a great chat, but nothing happens.
Yes.
And it's really important that we enable those people through our questioning. What can you go away and now create?
Yeah.
And you want to hold them accountable in a nice way, not like an evil manager, like the mentor sort of way. You want to not be a dementor. You want to be, is there Patronus? Is that the other one?
I think it might be the other one. Yeah. Any Harry Potter fans out there, I'm sure, will tell us. Yeah, for
please,
sure.
Please contact them. I think it's the Patronus. And the stag comes across the lake, and that's the energy, and it blows away the dementors.
Yes.
It's not creating pain. It's called creating love.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think when you're just talking about that to give yourself time and space to know how, as you said, how you're going to be is so important, isn't it? Because your being is what shapes you and the impact you have, and you never know that. But actually, that taking time for yourself and listening to yourself, as we said earlier, enables you to say, yeah, I'm going in the right direction, or no, I'm not. But then I have a choice to either do something or nothing about either one of those, because they're both a decision, right? But it's that bit about, how do I create it? We always talk about taking the opportunity, but you're right, action is so important. And I think, if you were to give your younger self a piece of advice, now that you've moved through different phases and transition, and you're transforming as well, what advice would you have given to your younger self if you could go back now and say something?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, isn't it? Because there's different versions of my younger self would need different advice.
Okay, cool. Tell us which ones you would give what
to.
Okay,
all right. Okay, so Sam, from the age of 0 till about, I don't know, 24, he just, you are an amazing human being. There's only one of a kind of you. Stay in your lane and realize your own greatness, or something like that.
Nice.
Because I was always, put myself down. My inner critic was ramped up.
Yeah.
Was berating myself for not looking a certain way, being sporty enough, whatever. I was always like comparing myself. Okay, that's Sam from 24. That's like up to the coaching, when I had this like kind of epiphany.
Yeah.
Sam, let's say up to the first 2 years, or when I just left teaching, actually, when I first left teaching, my advice to myself would be to, keep taking shots.
Okay.
And when you leave a job, you're not in the stands anymore. You're on the pitch. I'm not saying I wasn't like, in the classroom with the kids, but like it's all on you, right? Like you're on the pitch. What I mean by taking shots is that you're going to get no's, you're going to get rejected. There's going to be so much pain. But it's that ability, that bounce back ability from then or pain to action.
Yeah.
Being excited about that. My mentor does this. He's like, whenever I like don't close a sale or whatever, it's like, okay, let's go. What else can we create?
Yeah.
Whereas back then it was like, literally, I saw my self-worth linking to my financial success, linking to the amount of sales I was making. And like, spoiler alert, I was not making much money when I started. Right? So I felt like a loser. I felt like a failure.
Okay.
And then a piece of advice I give myself recently is this victim to hero.
Yeah.
The dreaded drama triangle, you might have heard of it.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
the victim, life happens to me, and I've had some struggles with my visa for Portugal, so let me get my little violin out and let's blame the Portuguese government and Brexit.
Throw a pity party, right?
Yeah, it's so easy to do that, and that's the
is.
default. Like, the default is victimhood.
So
yeah, I mean, I'm not saying feel sorry for yourself, feel the emotion to get that, but I think I've mentioned a lot in this pod already, like that create. So from victim to creator, victim to owner.
Yeah,
it's something that I'm trying to embody, and I've not got all the answers, by the way. I still fall into all these traps,
hey,
but like,
we're human, right?
Yeah, well, the awareness is the most important. Awareness precedes change, and
absolutely.
if you ain't got the awareness, then you're just going to go through the motions of getting the same results.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're thinking about the work you're now doing now, first of all, how do people reach out to you to explore it? Because for me, I think, being able to support the people that support our younger people coming through the world of work today and getting them ready for it is just phenomenal, first of all. And I think if we can in any way support that, why would we not? But if you think, how would people get hold of you? And I suppose, what's the exciting project that's happening for you at the moment that you want to sort of share, and then we can signpost people towards it?
Yeah, thank you so much, Debbie.
Right.
So I started training people in 2019. And it was a very rough and ready, I was training people one-on-one on my coaching program that I made. And now fast forward nearly 4 years, we're getting it ICF accredited.
Nice.
ATT. So I guess the exciting project at the moment, we've got our ECA Elite Diploma in coaching, which is super cool. So you can learn how to coach, be involved in a great community of like-minded people for a year, get loads of business support. It's a phenomenal opportunity, and it's the best version of the training we've got. So we've got that if you're interested in learning how to coach. And then I still do one-to-ones. I still love one-to-one student work. So if you're a parent or you're a young person listening to this, I've been coaching students for 5 years now. I'm going to say I'm great at it. I'm awesome at it. I get results.
Yeah.
And if you're interested in that, check out studentbreakthrough.com. If you're interested in the coach training, it's ecatraining.com.
Cool.
But I'm always running events. I'm always trying to give back as much as I can, because especially to teachers that maybe want to do something different.
Yeah.
Go from what I call educator to edupreneur, which sort of works.
Yeah, I think that does work, actually. And they can definitely reach out for you, and we'll make sure that people have your links, and we'll make sure that people can find you as well, Sam. But I know we've taken up loads of your time, and we could continue talking about it. And I just want to say a massive thank you, one, for sharing a little bit about where you've come from in your journey, and that definitely your victim to hero, creator, opportunist, all of those lovely things, and owning it. So I just want to say a massive thank you for your time today and sharing your experiences with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I've absolutely loved it. You're the best.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah.
So, Law, what did you think?
Oh my goodness. Well, all I can say is there's about another 6 phrases to go on the team tattoo list.
There is, isn't there?
I mean, I was scribbling down notes as I was listening. There's some gorgeous phrases that he was saying. That's just really, I've been, since I first listened to it, I've been, it's been going around in my mind, and just some things that really stuck out about how do you define performance, its potential minus interference. What a brilliant way to look at that. What's my potential? What's potentially the interference that's going to get in the way?
Yeah.
And inevitably it tends to be your own interference, and coaching is the way to be able to gateway into that potential. I just thought it was a brilliant way of articulating it. I found it really helpful.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it, actually? And the way he talks around making sure you, based on his own experience as well, of that transformational moment in his life, but actually building that great relationship with self so that you understand it, so that you practice listening. And I know we talk about listening a lot, but that ability to listen to self, and also thinking about, how do I know that's true? How do I know that for sure? And then that ability to create over react, which is what he said as well. So how do you create possibilities for self, which is key in order to keep you moving forward, so that you're not the victim. You sort of not manifest it, but you are overcoming that. You're creating a different response to it, which I thought was really, really interesting. When I was listening, developing that growth mindset and listening to self, I think is really, really important, as he talked about it too. Loved it.
Yeah. And a great reminder of how, one of the difference between coaching and counselling is counselling might be healing the past to then be able to face the future. And coaching's all about that action bit. And I thought if there were a couple of takeaways, not only for self, but also for people that are working as part of a team. And if you've got a team meeting coming up, whether it's one-to-one or there's a few of you, those two questions, what can we learn from this? How can we use this knowledge? What a brilliant way for a team to reflect potentially on a setback or a rollback on that roller coaster, as we talked about on one of our recent episodes. So how do you deal with the rollbacks where you've put a huge amount of effort in, it's not gone to plan? How do you then galvanise that team in that team meeting and then inspire everyone to think, okay, right, let's build on this? And those two questions, what can we learn from this? How can we use this knowledge? I thought that could be some really practical things to take away to a sort of a new season team meeting, if anyone that's got a kick-off event coming up.
Yeah, I think you're right there. And that victim to creator, as he also spoke about, I thought it just makes you think, actually, do I want to play the victim all the time and get the violin out, as he mentioned? Or victim to owner was the other way he said. And I really like the fact that he was saying around how awareness precedes change. And the more self-aware we are, the more we know ourselves, the better it is. But with our team, the more we understand our team members, the more they understand what motivates them and engages them. And you can tap into that ability, then the better the team member's going to be, right? So I think the more awareness we have can help change things, perform well, thrive, whatever it is we want to be doing. And the quote we shared was, with Carl Jung's quote, who looks outside dreams, but who looks inside has awareness or is aware. And I think that's what it's all about, really, is that the more aware you are, the more you can adapt, be foxy, you can more adjust, you can flip, you can pivot, you can vision, you can do all of that lovely stuff. So it was a real reminder of actually we can make this really great space. And obviously he's focusing on our next generation, and I know you're a big advocate of that as well. How do we create the future workplace which is conducive to good learning and creating great performance in people? Why would we not do that?
Absolutely, Debs. So times look inward, awake, and you may be fortunate enough to have a really thriving performance culture around you, in which case this will be a reminder about how you can role model that, as Sam then said. And if you're not blessed with a particularly motivating performance culture around you, then hopefully this has given some practical tips. Not only, I think it's always inspiring, Debs, to listen to almost like a rags to riches story. So as he described himself, he was a broken young man. He knew that he had this potential and he could see glimpses of it. So we've all been there, because it's that human bit. We're not machines, we're not robots, and not every day can be a happy, sunny day. But it's some practical things to then recognise that and then kind of shift and get into action mode. So talking of which, Debs,
my action
would be your call to action. All right,
so,
I'm going to give.
So my call to action would be to create your plan and do your vision board. So if you want to perform well in the work that you're doing, what does it look like? What does it feel like? Create that vision board that every time you look at it, whether it's next to you, by you, on your phone, however you then have it alive, that just is the inspiration to go, I can do this. I can perform really well. But have your vision board and create your plan around it.
Oh, love it. We spoke to a couple of people who have their motivational Spotify playlist as well. So if you're more of a listener than a looker, then that's also another way to kind of bring it to life. So you're getting that. Love it. That. So my share the secret would be, if there's someone either in your life or in your team, so whether that's domestic or professional, that is feeling a little bit down at the moment, maybe a little bit battered and bruised, get them to listen to this. And it's our thinking that can change so much. And if we're looking at this big topic of Maximising Performance. This has been all about how do we maximise our personal performance potential. And I'm really looking forward to our array of guests that we have coming up, Debs, just taking hopefully a really fresh and quite provocative different series of approaches towards this world of performance management. Because it's tricky to read this stuff in a book at the moment, isn't it, Debs?
I think it is, because there's no books that have been written to cope with the world that we're living in now and the world of work. And old ways of working aren't going to work today, and so therefore we have to be ahead of the curve and think differently, and be that, as you know, I mean, Sam mentioned about being the disruptor, educator, disruptor. I think he quotes it, but we have to change our way and we have to be disruptive. The old way won't necessarily keep us afloat, keep us performing well. So looking forward to this one.
Absolutely. What an opportunity to change the world. And it's on our watch, isn't it? We're the adults that are in the world of work right now. It's all this change has happened on our watch. And how do we take positive action and kind of move things forward? So looking forward to that. So in the meantime, Debs, have a high performing week.
I will. And you too. Enjoy as well.
Access that inner hero, no matter what gets thrown at you.
Make it happen. Keep an eye on where you're heading. I think definitely make it happen. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, right. Can't wait to see you. Have a fab week. Love you.
You too, lovely. Bye.